Jehovah's Witnesses often say they follow their conscience, a conscience trained according to the Bible. It sounds noble, doesn't it? A personal, spiritual compass guided by God's Word. But in reality, that conscience isn't truly theirs. It's been programmed, filtered, and restrained by the decisions of men who claim to speak for God. Inside the organization, your conscience is only good if it agrees with what those men decide it should be. Every publication, every meeting, every broadcast tells you what to think, how to feel, and what choices are safe. They say, each Christian must make a personal decision, but then immediately tell you what that decision should be. This freedom in appearance, obedience in practice. They say your conscience must be trained by Bible principles, but those principles are never interpreted by you. They're predigested, repackaged, and handed to you through organizational material, as if God Himself wrote it. You're told not to go beyond what is written. But what's written isn't the Bible anymore. It's whatever the Watchtower says this month. So what happens if your conscience, your real one, tells you something different? Maybe it tells you that higher education isn't evil, or that it's cruel to shun your own family, or that questioning a policy isn't rebellion but honesty. Immediately, guilt sets in. Not divine guilt, organizational guilt, because your conscience has been wired to fear disobedience more than injustice. That's not spiritual growth. That's control. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that obedience brings blessings. But obedience, when it kills your ability to think and feel freely, isn't a virtue, it's surrender. You're told that independent thinking is dangerous, that personal reasoning is prideful. So you silence yourself, convincing your mind that loyalty equals faithfulness. It's a closed circle. You obey because you believe it's right, and you believe it's right because you've been told obedience is the highest form of faith. And yet, they keep saying, follow your conscience. But if your conscience must first be approved by an organization before you can trust it, then it isn't your conscience anymore. It's theirs. A conscience outsourced, owned, and controlled. They say Jehovah's Witnesses aren't robots, but what kind of person must ask permission before thinking, before loving, before forgiving? What kind of conscience needs a monthly update to know what's right or wrong? When your entire moral sense depends on the latest broadcast or magazine, you're not guided by God or by truth. You're guided by an institution that has taken ownership of your inner self. True conscience doesn't need authorization. It doesn't fear questions. It doesn't wait for approval to show compassion. It isn't controlled by fear. It's guided by understanding, empathy, and courage. And if you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses listening to this, remember, you still have that inner voice. It's been buried under layers of rules, fear, and conditioning, but it's still there, waiting to speak again. You don't need anyone's permission to use it. You don't need a watchtower to tell you what's right. You already know, because conscience, real conscience, doesn't whisper the words of men. It whispers freedom.